I'm here, I guess, representative in a few ways. The first is that I've worked both agency and client side. So client side, I was head of brand strategy and marketing at Telstra, responsible for a $9 billion brand, but really started my career at Saatchi & back in 2003 with Mike Rebello as my boss, who some of you guys would have known. So I've worked on both sides. The second part is really that I'm here as someone that's had my own mental health challenges and especially experienced burnout quite severely twice, which is sort of why I do what I do today. And I think the third thing is that I'm here representing those 22 people that have really just given a whole bunch of time and energy to really looking at what's going on. And the facts that I'm presenting to you today sort of come in three areas. The first is that we're going to look at the human costs. So we talked about those stats, 56% of the industry having mild to severe symptoms of depression, 55% for anxiety. What's the human cost of that? The second part is we're going to look at the commercial costs, and we're going to actually get you working on what the cost is to your business today, based on research that we've done and a calculator that we've built. And then finally, we're going to present to you how, when you invest in the right ways, you can actually change this quite quickly. We up for that? Yeah? Okay, cool. All right, so just the facts. All right, so first, we've heard a lot about, I think, talent and what's happening with talent. And I think one of the best ways to sort of talk about the human cost of this is actually ask young talent what they think about this issue.
I chose to get into the creative industry because I like storytelling. I like the idea of working together as a team to just find all the different angles to tell stories.
I always knew that I was creative, so I studied art and design, etc. Actually worked way up through graphic design, so I knew I wanted to do that.
I think it's really exciting that you have the ability to express yourself in different ways, whether it be visually, verbally, just any type of way, which is really exciting.
I'm a very hands-on person, and I'm someone that really enjoys like problem solving, but using unique and innovative ways to get to that.
I think advertising in particular for me was, in a weird way, I wanted to be able to do a little bit of good. It's not really the industry where you can do a lot of that these days, but I don't know, I think there was hope of working with inspiring brands and companies and yeah, being able to help them out and do good things.
I definitely would have looked at other ways to tell stories. Yeah, no, that definitely would have made me kind of rethink my decision for sure, because 56% is a really scary number.
Yeah, 100%. I actually saw that stat when I was looking at the event poster and kind of information. I was just like, holy crap, it's like, yeah. I think if that was advertised somewhere, I would have thought about it twice.
100%, for sure. Yeah, I think that's massive, and it's definitely a tough industry and not what I thought it would be.
I think if someone would have told me that, I would have thought about it twice, because I never was 100% sure if that's really the way I want to go.
Yeah, probably. Definitely would have had an effect. I still think I eventually would have ended up choosing it, but it would have been a lot longer of a process, and I would have considered a lot of other things.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a huge percentage and would obviously play on your mind when you're making that decision.
I think I would have made a totally different decision. I fell into advertising because there was some cool stuff happening and I didn't really understand the full scope of what it was. But if I'd known, things might have turned out a different way.
So, it's sobering that in terms of actually how it's impacting our young people. And even when we ask them around the importance of wellbeing, 84% of people will say that the quality of your wellbeing program is going to either agree or strongly agree that that's going to impact their decision to join your organisation. So this is something that's becoming really front of mind in terms of our employee value proposition, not just individually as agencies, but as a whole industry. The next thing I wanted to talk to is introduce you to my new friend that I've made over at the University of Sydney. He's a professor of psychology, Dr. David Allais, and he's an expert in the neuroscience of creativity. And so I went to him to specifically ask, how does mental health impact the creative process? And here's what he said.
Well, what we've learned recently in neuroscience is that there are these two competing networks. So we have this cognitive cycle that switches in and out of our focused conscious mind and into this divergent style where we can create and find links between disparate ideas. And the thing is, this creative network doesn't come online until we're relaxed and de-stressed. And so there's an importance here for well-being in the workplace, that people need to be rested and de-stressed. There's a role for mindfulness, healthy eating, and for time out, perhaps through the day, to let your mind wander. Those things are critical for ensuring a creative workplace. Well, anxiety and depression are both crushing for creativity. With anxiety, we end up being too distracted and too vigilant about external threats to relax into that frame of mind where we can start to let our thoughts diverge, where we find those creative links. And then with depression, well, of course, with creativity, the other side of the process is you need to do the hard work to refine your idea, to get it out into some kind of product that works. And when you're depressed, you just don't have the energy to get that hard work done. So the link between creativity and well-being is pretty strong. So things that make people feel well and relaxed and rested are also the ones that promote creativity.
I think him summing up, basically saying that anxiety and depression crush creativity, and we have more than 1 in 2, more than 50% of people actually experiencing that. That's a lot of people that are not able to be doing the job that you're paying them to be able to do. We've also looked a little bit deeper into this. So I've done a lot of work in the last couple of years, really focusing on creative clients. So I've worked with a lot of marketers, PR, advertisers, and on your tables you've got a report that we produced from the 900 people that I've worked with over the last couple of years to first identify what's going on with their health and their well-being, their burnout risk, and then to fix that, essentially. So there's 108,000 insights, and I'm a brand guy, so I can tell you that the data and analytics side of me, that was tough, right, to get that done. Right, but everything's in there, and I'm more than happy to talk about any of that afterwards. But I think the important issue here is to realise that burnout is a gateway to these more serious issues, right? And so we need to be starting to focus preventatively around things, not just at the crisis end. And I guess in that fact, you know, that women only feel they have enough energy 44% of the time, guys just over 50%. That has a profound impact on our ability both to be and feel successful, right, as well, in the type of work that we do and in our personal lives. So when you sort of boil it down, I think that all of us in this room, I'm hoping we'll agree that we've sort of got one job that we all share, right? And if we don't do this job, then we probably shouldn't be holding a leadership position. And that job is to create a culture where creativity and creative people thrive. Does anyone think that that's not their job? No? Good. Okay. So, you know, how do we fix this, right? Because what we're seeing here from the data is that we're failing at that job, failing really badly, and so we need to get back and focus on what our number one job is. So now I want to talk the language of the CFO, right? Who might be your friend here. So what are the costs here? So you're going to get an SMS. Is that going up to him? Yeah. So if you check your phone right now. So what we've done just to see how this is actually commercially costing is we've combined research from Harvard University, from Gallup, from Medibank Private, and from Direct Health and Solutions, looking at 4 areas in which ill health, burnout, mental health are impacting you. And that is through things like sleep deprivation, which is the #1 indicator of mental health issues. It's through things like disengagement. It's through presenteeism when people are working when they're sick. And it's through absenteeism as well when they just don't want to be there. So I encourage you to put that in as a little bit of an incentive. If you put that in, I'm happy to come and talk to you and debrief you specifically on what's in that report as well. How are we going? We've got some crazy figures there. So who's Tony? Is Tony still here? Tony was in a session this morning saying we had 10,000 people in the industry. If you put in that, you know, those numbers in there, you'll see guess how big this problem is. What we found, if we look wider than just advertising, we look at marketers in general as a position of ABS stats. Using this calculator, we've worked out there's actually $1.1 billion a year in lost productivity in this industry. Has everyone done that? Does everyone have a figure? Put your hand up and you've got a figure that you're going to show your CFO. Right? So on average, it's working out somewhere around 16% of salary costs. Right? So it's really important to be able to know this is exactly what's costing you here today. Tony, did you put in for the whole industry?
I didn't put everyone in.
So 10,000 people, 1,000 leaders, 9,000 individual contributors, average salary. I'm giving you a task.
Well, no, what I did do is I said, if there's 250 on the top of the chain,
yep,
of the leaders,
yep,
the total lost productivity is $8.6 million.
Yeah.
And that's from the top.
Yeah.
And then be higher than that because you're using average salaries.
Totally. And also I think the thing is what we're looking at here is what is that percentage of your margin? Right? These are the things that we need to be thinking about. Okay, so I wish I could say it's going to get a little bit worse before it gets better, right? So there's a couple of other things we need to think about. One is that when you think about your liability, right, what we're seeing is a dramatic increase in work cover costs, claims, essentially, and you're liable for up to $350,000 per case. Why I say watch out if you're in New South Wales is that the regulator here is basically accepting every single claim. Right? They're not even challenging it, right? So you need to watch out for that. The second thing is to think about the G word. I think we saw this with Mark's presentation this morning. Who here has been asked by their boards to provide growth this year? Come on. Obviously everyone, right? The thing is that what this is telling us, right, is right now the capacity for you to grow your business is actually significantly impaired, right? So this, whatever your remuneration is against, right, you will find it very hard to achieve those targets that have been set for you. All right, so let's talk about some good news. Okay, so good news, right, is that we know that creativity is the third most valuable skill from the future of work. This is from the World Economic Forum. So we know that what we do is valuable, it's needed. In fact, if you think about it, with the problems that the world faces, we probably need creativity more than we've ever needed it. Right? So what are we going to do about this? How do we fix it? So I think one of the ways we should fix it is we should probably start to apply some of that stuff that Professor Alay was talking about, because some of you might be feeling a bit anxious right now, about some of the stuff that we've talked about. So how can we practice this? So I actually want you to stand up. Right? We're going to practice some of the neuroscience. So one of the things that Professor Alay talked about that's great for creativity and for getting people into the room is mindfulness. Has anyone done mindfulness practice? Everyone knows what mindfulness is. What is mindfulness at its essence? What's it about? Slowing down,
the brain.
coming closer again, being present, right? Being here in the room. One of the easiest ways for you to be present in the room is to notice something new in this room right now. Notice something new, instantly you'll be present, right? That allows you then to access your breath, right? Access your thoughts and things like that. It's a great strategy for boring meetings, right? Just notice something new in the room and you'll be back in the room, right? The next thing we know from a neuroscience point of view is that one of the most powerful tools that we have to actually fight those feelings of depression, anxiety, sadness, anger, all the bad stuff, is actually to practice gratitude. Right? It's impossible to feel those feelings when you're practicing gratitude because you're reliving moments of joy. What I want you to do is share with the person next to you just one word that sums up why you're grateful to be in this industry. One word. Share that with the person next to you. There we go. Instantly we're feeling better. Instantly we're feeling better. That's how powerful this is. Right? Now, at Energx, we like to practice gratitude in a little bit of a different way, which I'm going to get you to do with me. So if you think about that feeling of gratitude that you've got in your body right now, right? I want you to bring it right into your body. Shake it out a little bit, right? And just start to move your shoulders back and forth, right? So getting that feeling going right through your whole body, right? That one word that you were grateful for. Can we get a little bit bigger than that, a little bit faster? A little bit faster. All right. There we go. This is what we need to do. We need to get our shimmy back. All right? Sit down. So I can tell you that my memories of what it was like to work at Saatchi & Saatchi are completely in opposition from what I see when I walk into an agency today. Right, when I go and give a presentation, I see sort of glazed over, lifeless eyes a lot of the time. And I remember working my ass off, right, back in those days, for like 40K, right, as an account executive, right? But I don't remember seeing people look that way, and that's what I'm seeing. Right, so where we need to start if we want to change this is we need to think about how we role model ourselves as leaders. Right? The most powerful leadership behavior is how you choose to lead yourself. So asking yourself, am I a leader? Am I a role model for well-being, for looking after myself? Or am I setting a completely different tone? The next and the biggest learning I've had through this experience with the mental health change group is that mental health is not binary. Right? You are not mentally healthy or not. Right? And so what we need to understand is that we need to invest along this continuum of mental health. We've done a lot of investment in the crisis end, the injured and ill end, and we need to be equally, if not spending more money, investing in those healthy and reacting behaviours. Right? So really looking at your wellbeing program, and does it actually fit right along this continuum? The simple fact is that we've never been taught how to be well. Right? The ironic thing with me and what I do is that my first career was actually in the fitness industry. I spent 16 years jumping around in Lycra, all over the world. If you have the Sharp Bridges DVD, I'm on 4 of them. It's a backup dancer for her. Right? And I still burnt out twice. Right? I knew a lot about the physical stuff, but I had to learn these other things that were impacting me. Right? We've never been taught how to be well. And so what we need to do is we need to view well-being as a capability. Right, and invested in the same way. It's a skill to be learned, to be mastered, to be shared, to be coached. Right? And so in the same way, if you were to invest in a capability around a technical skill, you would expect an uplift, right? And you'd be able to hold that person then accountable and responsible for using those skills. Same thing with well-being. Right? We need to view it as a capability. The other thing we need to do around well-being is reframe what well-being is about. Right, so this is a study from the University of Illinois that looked at students doing exams and their brain activity. Right, this is the same student, it's a before and after. So low brain activity, high brain activity. What do you think was the one thing that this student did to light up their brain? Exercise? Yes, what type of exercise? A walk? How long for? Come on, Gav.
5 minutes.
A little bit longer than that. 20, right? A 20-minute walk lights up our brain, right? 20 minutes. So when we're stuck on a problem, this is what we need to be doing, because just like an exam or just trying to solve a problem or answer a brief, we need to find ways to light up our brains, right? And that's why we need to reframe well-being. It's not about the physical, it's about our cognitive energy, right? And energy is a great place to start. So we might think about why focus on energy. Right, well, the first thing that we know is there's a massive difference between energized versus depleted employees. Right? They concentrate better, they're better engaged, they deal with stress better, they're less depressed, less anxious. The other thing is that it's not scary to talk about energy. Right? We all understand experience, we all understand customer experience. Right? The great thing about energy is I can ask you, after any experience that you have, whether it's something like this, whether it's spending time with friends, going for a walk outside, or just quietly sitting alone with your thoughts. And I can say, did that experience energize you or deplete you? And you'll just know. Right? You might not know why. Right? It could be a little bit energizing, a little bit depleting, or big, depending on the experience. Right? But that's what we do, right? For our clients, we create energizing experiences, hopefully, for customers. Can we do it for ourselves? Right, and what we do at Energx is we're turning that intuition, that feeling, into intelligence. Right, and this is where I want to show you a case study essentially of how we can change this. So starting with data, again, it's the same way that we would approach any brief. right? Do we have the right data and insights to design the right program at both an individual and a collective level, right? That's where we start. And so we've developed an assessment. So all of the data that's in the report on your tables is from those assessments collectively, and that assessment and all the approach that I'm sharing with you here is endorsed by the University of Sydney Business School. What we've seen is that by focusing on these skills, these practical skills, we've been able to lift people from only feeling they had enough energy 4.8 days to 7.2 in just 12 weeks. Right? A 50% increase. Imagine having 50% more energy in 12 weeks' time. What could you achieve? What could you be? How could you feel? Right? That's what we can do. It's about making it practical and reframing. Right? Because we know we should look after ourselves, but we don't. Right? So we have to find different ways to approach this. What we know too is that we're able to actually really dramatically reduce the risk in the organisation. Right? So the green here is the number of healthy people in this client. Essentially less than 20% depleted from their goals. Just 12 weeks later, we've almost quadrupled the number of people in that business that were healthy. Then in terms of what we talked about before, burnout risk, creativity, we're also seeing from the data very, very specific results in those areas as well, right? Reducing those risks. The thing I'm most proud of, I think, in this study is that 63%, almost 2/3 of people having much less negative self-talk after just 12 weeks.